There are moments in life when you are tested not by hardship, but by people. People who smile in your face yet break you behind your back. People who take your kindness as weakness, your silence as permission, and your forgiveness as a doorway to repeat the same harm again and again. Islam teaches us mercy. It teaches us forgiveness. But let me remind you, forgiveness does not mean allowing yourself to be destroyed. Forgiveness does not mean you must stay in a place where your soul is suffocating. There are certain lines that, once crossed, require distance, not debate. When someone consistently disrespects you, humiliates you, or pulls you away from your Deen, you must ask yourself, is this person bringing me closer to Allah or dragging me further away? Because anything that distances you from Allah is not a blessing. It is a burden. You see, many people remain trapped in toxic situations because they fear being alone. But wallahi, being alone with Allah is far better than being surrounded by people who corrupt your heart. Loneliness with peace is better than company with pain. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not to argue, not to explain, not to fight, but to walk away silently. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Some battles are meant to be left behind. There are individuals who will apologize, but never change. They will cry, but never correct themselves. They will promise, but never fulfill. And you keep forgiving, hoping they will become better. But my brothers and sisters, Islam does not teach you to be blind. It teaches you to be wise. If someone repeatedly betrays your trust, breaks your heart, and shows no intention of change, then your staying is not patience, it is self-destruction. Know your worth. You are a creation of Allah. You deserve respect, dignity, and peace. And if someone cannot give you that, then you must have the courage to walk away. Walking away is not weakness. It is strength. It is self-respect. It is trusting that Allah will replace what you left with something far better. Sometimes Allah removes people from your life because He heard conversations you didn't, saw intentions you couldn't, and knew what they were planning against you. So when you walk away, don't look back with regret. Look forward with faith. Say, Ya Allah, I leave this for you. I choose my peace over this pain. And remember, you can forgive someone in your heart, but that does not mean you allow them back into your life. Protect your heart. Protect your Iman. Protect your peace. Because at the end of the day, your journey is not about pleasing people. It is about pleasing Allah. There is a powerful misunderstanding many people carry when it comes to forgiveness. They believe that forgiving someone automatically means allowing that person back into their life, giving them the same access, the same trust, and the same closeness they once had. But that is not always the case. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing, and confusing the two can lead to repeated pain and emotional exhaustion. In the teachings often emphasized by scholars like Mufti Menk, forgiveness is something noble. It cleans your heart, it frees you from bitterness, and it allows you to move forward without carrying the heavy burden of anger. However, forgiveness is an internal act. It is something between you and Allah. It does not oblige you to reopen doors that were closed for a reason. You can forgive someone sincerely for the sake of Allah while still choosing to keep your distance. You can let go of the pain they caused without allowing them the opportunity to cause it again. This is not hypocrisy, and it is not cruelty. It is wisdom. It is understanding that while your heart should remain pure, your boundaries must remain strong. Many people struggle with this because they fear being seen as harsh or unforgiving. They think, if I truly forgave them, shouldn't I give them another chance? But the truth is, forgiveness does not erase patterns. If someone has repeatedly disrespected you, betrayed your trust, or harmed your well-being, then giving them unlimited chances is not a sign of mercy. It can become a form of self-neglect. Islam encourages you to be kind, but it also encourages justice and self-respect. You are not required to place yourself back into situations where you are consistently hurt. Even the most merciful individuals exercise caution with those who prove themselves harmful. Your peace matters. Your emotional and spiritual safety matters. Sometimes the most mature form of forgiveness is silent. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to go back and rebuild what was broken. Simply let go. You make dawah for them if you can, and you move forward with your life. You release the anger, but you retain the lesson. It is also important to understand that reconciliation requires effort from both sides. It requires genuine remorse, real change, and consistent actions that prove that the person is no longer the same. Without these elements, reconciliation becomes fragile and often leads to the same cycle repeating itself. So if you forgive someone and still choose to walk away, you are not contradicting yourself. You are protecting yourself. You are choosing growth over attachment, peace over chaos, and clarity over confusion. Remember, not every person who hurts you deserves a second chance in your life. Some people are meant to be forgiven, but not reintroduced. Some chapters are meant to be closed, not rewritten. Forgiveness is about freeing your heart. Distance is about protecting it. And when you learn to balance both, you begin to heal in a way that is strong, dignified, and aligned with your faith. There comes a point in life where you begin to realize that not everything deserves your energy, your time, or your emotional investment. One of the greatest lessons you can learn is that your peace and your Iman are not things you compromise for anyone. They are not negotiable, and they are not replaceable. In reminders often shared by scholars like Mufti Menk, you are taught that your connection with Allah is your greatest asset. It is the anchor that keeps you grounded when everything else feels uncertain. So when something or someone begins to disturb that connection, you must take it seriously. Because anything that weakens your Iman is not a small issue, it is a warning. There are people who enter your life and slowly pull you away from what truly matters. It might not be obvious at first. It can begin with small compromises, missing a prayer here, engaging in harmful speech there, neglecting your values just to fit in or keep someone happy. Over time, these small compromises add up, and before you know it, your heart feels distant from Allah. Protecting your Iman means being aware of these influences and having the courage to step back when necessary. It means recognizing that not every relationship is worth maintaining if it comes at the cost of your spiritual well-being. You are not being difficult or overly sensitive. You are being responsible for your soul. Your peace is just as important. Peace is not just the absence of noise or conflict. It is the presence of calm within your heart. It is waking up without anxiety, without constant overthinking, without emotional heaviness caused by others. And if someone persistently disturbs that peace, then you have every right to reconsider their place in your life. Too often, people stay in situations that drain them because they fear hurting others, or they worry about what people will say. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. If your heart is constantly under stress, if your mind is always restless, if your soul feels burdened, hence something needs to change. Choosing your peace does not mean you are selfish. It means you understand your limits. It means you value the tranquility that Allah wants for you. It means you are no longer willing to tolerate what breaks you. There is strength in stepping back. There is strength in saying, this is not good for me, and walking away without guilt. Because at the end of the day, you are accountable for yourself. You are accountable for your actions, your choices, and your relationship with Allah. Surround yourself with people who remind you of Allah, who uplift you, who encourage you to grow, and who respect your boundaries. These are the people who add to your peace, not take away from it. These are the people who strengthen your Iman, not weaken it. And if you find that someone is doing the opposite, constantly bringing negativity, pulling you into things that displease Allah, or making you feel emotionally exhausted, then it is not only your right, but your responsibility to create distance. Never feel guilty for protecting what is sacred. Your Iman is your light, and your peace is your strength. Guard them carefully, because once they are shaken, everything else begins to fall apart. So choose wisely. Choose what brings you closer to Allah. Choose what gives your heart rest. And never allow anyone to take that away from you. One of the clearest signs you are being tested in a relationship is not a single mistake, but a pattern of repeated harm. Anyone can make an error. Anyone can slip, say something wrong, or act in a way they later regret. But when the same behavior keeps happening again and again, despite apologies, despite promises, despite tears, that is no longer a mistake. That is a pattern. And patterns are not accidents. They are choices. In the kind of reminders often emphasized by Mufti Menk, you are encouraged to reflect deeply on the difference between someone who is genuinely trying to change and someone who is simply trying to keep you around. Because there is a big difference between the two, a person who truly regrets their actions will show it through consistent change. They will be careful not to repeat what hurt you. They will respect your feelings and take responsibility without excuses. But someone who continues to harm you while offering empty apologies is not seeking forgiveness. They are seeking permission. Permission to continue the same behavior without consequences. This is where many people struggle. They hold on to hope. They think maybe this time it will be different. They remember the good moments, the kind words, the promises made in emotional conversations. And because of that, they ignore the reality in front of them. But hope should never blind you to repeated harm. Every time someone crosses a boundary and you allow it without consequence, you are teaching them how to treat you. You are showing them that your limits are flexible, that your pain is tolerable, and that your forgiveness is guaranteed no matter what they do. And while forgiveness is a beautiful quality, it should not come at the cost of your dignity. Repeated harm is not something you are meant to endure endlessly. It is a signal, a clear message that something is wrong and that change is required, not just from them, but from you as well. Sometimes the change required is distance. Walking away in such situations is not an act of anger. It is an act of clarity. It is recognizing that you deserve better than a cycle of hurt and apology, over and over again. It is choosing to step out of a pattern that is slowly breaking you. It is also important to understand that staying in a situation where you are repeatedly hurt can affect more than just your emotions. It can impact your self-worth, your mental well-being, and even your connection with Allah. When your heart is constantly heavy, when your mind is filled with stress and confusion, it becomes harder to focus on what truly matters. Some people will only realize your value, when you are no longer available to them, when you stop accepting what once hurt you, when you finally draw a line and refuse to let it be crossed again, and even if they never realize it, your decision to walk away is still valid. You are not required to stay where you are not respected. You are not required to tolerate what continuously damages you. There comes a time when enough is enough, and recognizing that moment, as a sign of strength, not weakness. So if you find yourself in a cycle where the same pain keeps returning, take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Not at the words, but at the actions. Not at the promises, but at the patterns. Because sometimes the most important decision you can make is to stop giving chances where there is no change and to walk away from what no longer serves your peace, your dignity, or your faith. There is a deep connection between self-respect and faith that many people overlook. Often, when we think about faith, we focus on acts of worship, prayer, fasting, charity. But we forget that how we treat ourselves is also a reflection of our understanding of what Allah has given us. You are not just anyone. You are a creation of Allah, honored and dignified. And when you allow yourself to be constantly disrespected, it slowly erodes that sense of dignity that your faith seeks to protect. In reminders often shared by scholars like Mufti Menk, there is a strong emphasis on knowing your worth, not in an arrogant way, but in a grounded, humble understanding that you deserve to be treated with basic respect and kindness. Self-respect is not pride. It is not about thinking you are better than others. It is about recognizing that you should not be treated as less than what Allah has made you. When someone repeatedly belittles you, ignores your feelings, manipulates you, or takes advantage of your kindness for why? It does not just hurt emotionally, it sends a message to your own heart that this is what you deserve. Over time, if you do not correct that situation, you may begin to believe it. That is where the real danger lies. Faith teaches you balance. It teaches you to be patient, but not to the point of self-destruction. It teaches you to forgive, but not to the point of losing your dignity. It teaches you to be kind, but not to the point where you become a target for those who misuse your kindness. Self-respect means setting boundaries and standing by them. It means knowing when to say no, even if it disappoints others. It means refusing to stay silent when something clearly violates your values or harms your well-being. And sometimes it means walking away from people or situations that consistently undermine your sense of self. There are individuals who will test your limits. They will push boundaries just to see how much you can tolerate. If you keep adjusting yourself to accommodate their behavior, you slowly lose pieces of who you are. Your confidence weakens, your voice becomes quieter, and your sense of worth begins to fade. But when you understand that self-respect is part of your faith, your perspective changes. You begin to realize that protecting yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. You begin to see that allowing continuous disrespect is not patience. It is neglecting the responsibility you have towards your own soul. Respecting yourself also means surrounding yourself with people who recognize your value. People who speak to you with kindness, who consider your feelings, who uplift you rather than tear you down. These are the kinds of relationships that align with the principles of faith, where mutual respect and care are present. It is important to remember that you teach people how to treat you, not through your words alone, but through what you tolerate. If you accept disrespect repeatedly, it becomes the standard. But when you calmly and firmly refuse it, you set a new standard, not just for others, but for yourself. There is strength in walking away from what diminishes you. There is strength in choosing dignity over attachment. And there is strength in trusting that Allah will not take something away from you without replacing it with something better, something healthier, something that aligns with your values. So never underestimate the importance of self-respect. It is not separate from your faith. It is deeply connected to it. When you honor yourself in the way Allah intended, you protect your heart, your peace, and your path towards Him. There is a kind of strength that does not raise its voice, does not argue endlessly, and does not try to prove a point. It is quiet, composed, and deeply powerful. This strength lies in knowing when to remain silent and when to create distance. Not every situation requires a reaction, and not every person deserves an explanation. In reminders often shared by scholars like Mufti Menk, there is wisdom in choosing your battles carefully. Because constantly engaging in conflict, constantly explaining yourself to those who refuse to understand, and constantly defending your worth can drain your energy and disturb your peace. Silence in such moments becomes a form of protection. There are people who thrive on reactions. They push your limits, say things to provoke you, and wait for you to respond emotionally. The moment you react, they gain control over your emotions. They pull you into a cycle where you are constantly defending, explaining, and exhausting yourself. But when you choose silence, you break that cycle. Silence is not weakness. It is not an inability to respond. It is a conscious decision to preserve your dignity and your peace. It is understanding that some conversations are not meant to be continued, and some arguments are not meant to be won. Because even if you prove your point, even if you speak your truth, it will not matter to someone who has already decided not to listen. Distance works in a similar way. Sometimes being physically or emotionally distant is the only way to regain clarity. When you are constantly surrounded by negativity or conflict, it becomes difficult to think clearly. Your emotions take over, and you may find yourself reacting in ways you later regret. But when you step back, when you give yourself space, you begin to see things as they truly are. Distance allows you to reflect. It allows you to evaluate whether a relationship is truly beneficial or simply familiar. It gives you the chance to reconnect with yourself, with your values, and most importantly, with Allah. Because when you are caught in constant noise, your connection with what truly matters can weaken. There is also dignity in not explaining yourself to everyone. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your reasons, or your emotions. Sometimes the more you explain, the more your words are twisted or misunderstood. In such cases, silence becomes your shield. Walking away quietly can be one of the most powerful statements you make. It shows that you value your peace more than proving a point. It shows that you are no longer willing to engage in something that drains you. And it shows that you trust Allah to handle what you choose to leave behind. Of course, silence does not mean suppressing your feelings completely. It means choosing the right place and the right people to express them. It means turning to Allah in dua, speaking to those who genuinely care, and processing your emotions in a healthy way. But it also means not wasting your energy where it will not be appreciated or understood. Distance and silence together create a space where healing can begin. They remove you from the source of harm and allow you rebuild your strength. They help you regain control over your emotions and your decisions. In a world that often encourages constant reaction and immediate response, choosing silence and distance is a rare kind of wisdom. It requires patience, self-control, and a deep understanding of what truly matters. So when you find yourself in situations where words are no longer effective and your presence is no longer valued, remember that you do not always need to speak louder. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, remain silent, and walk away with your dignity intact. One of the hardest things to do in life is to let go of something you once held on to so tightly, especially when it involves people you cared about deeply. Walking away is never easy. It comes with doubt, memories, and moments where you question whether you made the right decision. But what gives you strength in that moment is one powerful belief: that whatever you leave for the sake of Allah will never truly be a loss. In reminders often shared by scholars like Mufti Menk, there is a consistent message of trust. Trust in Allah's wisdom, trust in His timing, and trust in His ability to replace what you lost with something far better. This trust is what transforms pain into peace and uncertainty into hope. When you walk away from something harmful, you are not just leaving a situation behind. You are making space. Space for healing, space for growth, and space for something better to enter your life. But many people struggle because they focus too much on what they lost instead of what they are about to gain. It is natural to miss what was familiar, even if it was harmful. It is natural to remember the good moments and feel a sense of emptiness after leaving. But you must remind yourself why you left in the first place. You did not walk away because it was easy. You walked away because it was necessary. Trusting Allah in this process means believing that He sees what you cannot see. He knows what was hidden, what could have happened, and what was not meant for you. Sometimes Allah removes people from your life, not as a punishment, but as protection. Protection from deeper pain, from greater niksan, from a path that could have taken you further away from Him. When you truly internalize this, your perspective begins to change. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You begin to say, Alhamdulillah, for what was removed from my life. Because you understand that Allah's plan is always rooted in wisdom, even when you do not fully understand it at the moment. Replacement does not always come immediately. There may be a period of loneliness, a period where you feel like nothing is changing. But that period is not empty. It is preparation. It is a time where Allah is strengthening you, teaching you lessons, and reshaping your heart so that you are ready for what is to come. And when the replacement does come, it often comes in ways you did not expect. It may be better people, healthier relationships, new opportunities, or even a stronger connection with Allah that brings you a level of peace you never experienced before. Sometimes the greatest replacement is not something external, but an internal transformation, where you become stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself. You must also remember that trusting Allah does not mean you will not feel pain. It means you do not let that pain break your faith. It means you continue to move forward even when it is difficult, knowing that every step you take away from harm is a step closer to something better. There is a beautiful promise in leaving something for the sake of Allah. You will never regret it in the long run. What you may feel as lost today can become your greatest blessing tomorrow. So when you walk away, do it with conviction. Do it with the belief that Allah is in control, that He sees your sacrifice, and that He will reward you in ways you cannot imagine. Hold on to that trust, even when things feel uncertain. Because sometimes the very thing you thought you could not live without is the very thing Allah removes to show you that you were always capable of something greater.